Hello and welcome to another video from me, Rough Swordsman, Wargamer. It's an open the box and it's an unboxing of quite a famous game which has had its 25th anniversary edition released. And it is, of course, For the People. Game design, of course, by Mark Herman and published by GMT Games. And I must say I love that box art. Now, this is a completely new game for me. I know it's been out for 25 years, but this is the first time I've had a copy, and there's a reason for that, and also a reason I've decided to get one. But first, what's all this about? For the People is a grand strategy card-driven game of the American Civil War, covering the conflict from Texas to Pennsylvania, from the firing on Fort Sumter to the end at the Appomattox Courthouse. You take the role of either President Lincoln or President Davis and command the armies, promote and relieve generals, conduct amphibious assaults, dispatch cavalry raids, and even battle incompetency and political intrigue among members of your own cabinet. For the People includes a deck of strategy cards for conducting campaigns and incorporating the many events and personalities of the war. The Confederate player can build ironclads, naval mines, torpedoes, and submarines, conduct overseas purchases, and work towards foreign intervention. The Union player can build up their naval blockade and their ironclad fleet, fight draft riots, secure the border states, and issue the Emancipation Proclamation. Relive the history of this exciting time when our nation was torn asunder. And up here a little bit about the 25th anniversary edition, because I think I'm right in saying that this was the first of the now very popular card-driven game mechanism. So there's a little bit about that there. Here we can see some of the counters, and you've got a choice of the original map and the brand spanking new redesigned one. So in the box, we've got 420 full color die cut counters, one 22 by 34 inch double-sided mounted map board with all new artwork from Terry Leeds on the front and the classic map from Mark Simonich on the back. 130 strategy cards, one strategy card reference, a 48-page rule and scenario booklet, 2 player aids, and 2 6-sided dice. And the game credits here: game designer, of course, Mark Herman, art director Justin Martinez and Roger B. McGowan, counter art Mark Simonich and Roger B. McGowan, and the map art, as we've just mentioned, Mark Simonich and Terry Leeds, and the cover art Donald Hegarty. Unit scale 6,000 men per strength point, map scale point-to-point system, time scale 4 months per game turn, and scenarios. You've got the campaign game and 1861, 62, 63, and 64 scenarios. Ages 14 plus, players 1 or 2. And on the game scales here, we've got a complexity of 5 out of 9 and solitaire suitability of 6 out of 9. I thought the solitaire suitability was much lower than that, but there we go. Still quite low. And the reason I've decided to get a copy of this after all this time is because there is now a CDG solo system for the game, originally designed by Stuka Joe, so looking forward to that. Right, let's get the shrink wrap off. The shrink wrap is off, so let's open the box. And as per normal, the first thing we see are the rules. So let's have a look at those. Rules are 48 pages with the index on the back, full color, matte paper. Now, this is the first time I've looked through the rules, but it should give you an overview, especially for those who, like me, are new to the game. So we start off with an introduction about the game itself and a little bit of historical background to the causes of the war. And I must admit, the American Civil War isn't a topic I'm over familiar with, but as time goes on with games like this, it should increase my historical knowledge of the conflict. So we've got the inventory and the credits, example of some of the counters, and then we've got the glossary for the game. And then, oh look, an extensive example of play right at the front of the rule book. And this example covers the entire 1861 scenario. Fantastic. Now, I know players use these examples of play differently. You can go, right, we're going to set this up and go through it and see how we get on, and then read the rules. Some will do that and then come back and play it again, having a bit more knowledge about how it works. Or some will read the rules, then come back and do this. But great, the complete 1861 scenario. So it tells you what cards you're going to get, and then it goes through spring 1861, summer, lots of pictures, and then fall 1861. There we are. We shall be utilising this because I understand it's quite a crunchy game Mr. Herman has designed. And then we've got the setting up the game, choosing your scenario, and they've given you the 1861 setup, and I think that won't be repeated at the back of the book with the scenarios in. Then the general course of play, explaining what all the different phases are. And then strategy cards, and here's an example of one. And with my limited experience of card-driven games, I assume that you can use either or. Here's the operation card value. Here's the event you can use. So I think it's one or the other, but we'll have a look at those briefly in a moment. So all about those are different types: major and minor campaign strategy cards, special event cards. Foreign intervention. The strategic and operational concentration cards. Forward to Richmond. This is obviously an important card. And then land operations. It says here, the Civil War was fundamentally a war of maneuver. So all about that, movement rates, picking up and dropping off SPs. I assume that's strength points. Hopefully the old glossary will tell us that, which that's handy to see. Yes, strength points. So that's what that means. Armies, creation and elimination. Their restrictions, movement and political control of armies when they're in combat and movement. Default commanding general. How many generals are in an army? And then we'll move on to the corps, how they're commanded, how they move, their size limitations, how you can organize them. Can you mix them with other organizations? Detaching them from an army, so very detailed. And then we've got division, how they move, naval movement. Moving strength points by naval movement without a general is still considered a corps move. So yes, this does look quite involved. Then we're moving on to cavalry brigades. How you create them, their movement, destruction, stacking them with strength points with infantry, I presume, replacing cavalry generals, and then the generals themselves, relieving them, transferring a general, demotion, removal. You are relieved of command, sir. So all about what they can get up to. Not sure these are all the generals, of course. Maybe they've got special abilities. Movement into enemy spaces. Interception. Rail movement, of course. Move troops and supplies around. Constructing rail for the Confederates. Combined operations, so naval, movement procedure. Ports. Confederate ability to cross rivers. And the Union ability to do the same. Running the guns, amphibious assaults. Confederate riverine movement. Ironclads, torpedoes, and the Hunley. Forts. And how they're used. Battle. What a battle is. Retreat before battle. How you do that. And then the battle resolution. If the winner is eliminated. That seems a bit weird. The elimination of the winner does not change who won. When both sides are eliminated. Battle ratings. Army v Army battles. Army v other forces and non-army forces. Elite units and cavalry intelligence. If you have to retreat, how we do that. Naval retreats. Surrender. And what happens if your general sustains injury. Then there's a comprehensive example of play based on the Battle of Gettysburg. Battle casualties, logistics, my goodness. So we've got lines of communication and supply and all that sort of stuff. What happens when you're out of supply? Attrition. You can forage in this. Reinforcements. And how the Union and the Confederates get their reinforcements. Blockade running activity. Bringing generals into play. Political warfare. Of course, that was going on, as well as the, I suppose, normal warfare. Strategic will. I understand this is very important in the game. SW values, yes, strategic will values. So state control of Confederate and Union states and these border states. Union blockade. So yes, we're coming to the end now. We've got the Mississippi River, Union War weariness and Confederate War guilt. And then these scenarios. So the 1861 scenario, yes, as I correctly surmised, isn't repeated here. This is the setup you saw at the beginning of the book. But we've got the 1862 setup, 1863, 64, and the campaign game. There we are. A little bit of information, some play notes for the amphibious assault rules. And then we've got optional rule, railroad logistics variant. That tells you Mark's thoughts on that. And another optional rule, operations queue. And then at the end, designer notes and designer notes to the second edition of the game. And at the back, we've got the index. Oh, crikey, them's the rules. Next, we've got 2 copies of a player aid containing charts and tables. Let's have a look at one of those. And on here, we can see a summary of the sequence of play. state control values, strategic will summary, and on the other side, a combat results table, movement summary, and Union and Confederate reinforcement summary, all the DRMs for battles you'll need, running the guns, general casualties, and the codes used for rivers on the map, I presume. Here's a helpful player aid showing you a display for a quick setup of the 1861 scenario. On the other side of this, we have a complete strategy card list showing the card numbers, how many op points there are and who can use them, and the name of the card. Next, there's 1.5 counter sheets. Here's the first one. They're 1/4 inch counters on the thicker brown core. There are the units, very simple, just showing you how many men is represented by each counter. Here are the commanders, both sides, admin counters, and on the other side, it shows the other side, of course, of those admin counters and leader counters, and the different values on the reverse side of the units. And here's the half sheet. I assume these are control counters. We've got destroyed resource counters, I think, and supply by the looks of it. And here's the other side. Working our way down to the bottom of the box, we got some plastic Ziploc bags and 2 D6 in appropriate colours. And then we've got the strategy cards. So let's have a look at those. Here are the strategy cards. There's 130 of them. So we'll just have a look through one of these piles. Here's the number, of course, it's points, and here's the event. So loads of those to give you that replayability, because a card will come in at a certain time and will be of no use, and you want it to come in at a certain time. So there we are. And you can see the different colours here for the blue and greys who can use it. And I think the ones with the white, oh, there we go, they've split. So either side can use them. There we are. I shall be sleeving these because they're okay, but GMT cards, in my experience, tend to sort of stick together. And as you know, I love to sleeve cards anyway. So there we are, the cards. And then the last thing to show you is the gorgeous double-sided mounted game board. So let's have a look at that. Here's the original map, and we'll have a look at the Terry Leeds side in a moment. But some players prefer this side because of the clarity of the board. A little bit like your choice in Paths of Glory, with a map that looks very similar to this with the updated map on the back. We'll have a quick zoom in, but I won't go around the edges because it'll be the same on the other map, and we'll have a look at that one. So here we've got Tennessee and Kentucky and Indiana. So that's the Mark Simonich map, the original map. Let's have a look at the other side. Here's the Terry Leeds new version of the map. And yes, a bit more background detail, I suppose, different colour palette. And that again may influence your choice as to which side you want to use. But I think they're both great. By the looks of these little boxes here, the Union player will sit that side. And there's one for the Confederates down here, which we'll have a look at. And there's another box here concerning the Union. And they're duplicated on the other side. So let's have a zoom in. So we're looking at the same part of the map as we did on the other side with Tennessee, Kentucky, and Indiana. Looks very good. A little bit more background detail to the map. But yeah, difficult choice as to which one you want to use. But let's have a quick look around the edges where all the tracks and tables are. Here's the left side of the map, and at the top we've got the Union Army strengths and some boxes here for the different armies. And then moving down, we've got the combat results table here and the Confederate Army strength with boxes for their armies. Moving along the bottom, and this is the side it looks like where the Confederates will sit. We've got their boxes, Confederate Rail Construction, little aid memoirs, I think, Union Naval Control, Mississippi, and the Confederate Reinforcement Summary. Moving along, we've got the Place Displaced Capital here, and a movement summary, and here we've got the Union Naval Blockade Level and the Amphibious Assault modifier. Along the right hand side at the bottom, we've got the Strategic Will Track, Turn Record Track key, and here it is, the Turn Record Track. Moving up to the top of the right hand side, we've got the map key, and at the top we can see the Union's Place Displaced Capital here box. There we are, that's the maps, and that's everything in the box. So this has been an Open the Box, an unboxing of the 25th anniversary edition of Mark Herman's For the People, published of course by GMT Games. Well, I hope you enjoyed that and you found it interesting. If you did, and you haven't done so already, it would be wonderful if you would consider subscribing to the channel. Really does help. Another thing that's good for the channel is if you push the like button, the thumbs up, underneath the video. That tickles the algorithm. And if you want to be informed of other content the channel uploads, then push the bell. But make sure you push all notifications. As always, I encourage you to leave a comment. What do you think of the game? Are you, like me, new to the game? Or have you been playing this for some of the 25 years it's been out? Let me know what you think, because as you know, I love to read them. Thanks as always to my lovely subscribers. Thank you so much. And just before I go, if you wish to support the channel a little bit further, there's a couple of ways you can do that. You can either buy the channel a coffee, and there's a link for that in the description, or you can push the super thanks button underneath the video. If you decide to do that, those small donations just help to keep the channel ticking along with bits and pieces, so thank you. Right then, we've got another classic Mark Herman CDG unboxing coming up in the next video, and I hope you can join me for that. So until then, as always, you take care and goodbye.